Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time to return once again to the Fighting Fantasy Classics collection. Now, there has been an update which allegedly fixes the missing illustration issue. In order to do so, if I'm having problems seeing illustrations in the book, I need to select the book I'm currently reading. Let's say go to Warlock of Firetop Mountain. I need to go to Book Options and then re-download the images. I have no idea where on this tab I would be doing that. If I go visuals, no, stick retro, restart book, might be it. I'm not sure. Hopefully, apart from the book covers being missing, I won't run into any missing issues. If any of you know how to fix the book covers, look, let's just try restart and see. Options, book. So then when we go back to the main page, no, it's not fixed for book cover yet. Odd. I'm not sure. Right, so poor Hannock perished. He was dragged beneath the desert sands by a monster with big, long, grabbing arms and grunts. So let's look for a nice portrait of a new hero. Or indeed heroine. You know, let's call her Iselda. Yeah, not with a Z. Iselda. No, that's too close to Isolde, isn't it? Right, Irash. Okay, let's try Irash Zuldavi. Sure. We can send her off into the deserts. She might stand a chance. So yeah, Temple of Terror. I just had some bad dice rolls in that last fight, really. So yeah, off we go then. So we're sadly back at the beginning. Now, I don't know what is causing provisions to only heal 2 points of stamina instead of 4. This feels very strange. Book rules. Let's go. No. Nothing here that explains why we're getting half healing from rations. So I'm wondering, do I need to play on an easier difficulty to get full healing from rations? The reduced healing efficacy of rations and provisions is going to make it a lot harder actually, but hey, we'll give it a go. We've got Irash Zuldavi. Is it Zuldavi? I think it's Zuldavi. So let's generate some stamina. Okay. Well, she'll have to manage. Some skill. Oh, there's a nice high number. And luck. Alright. So, I'm not going to be using bookmarks unless I get to the end of episodes, you know. Incredible skill, quite phenomenal luck. Stamina, not the best, but if her luck and skill hold out, she won't need too much. Also, why are provisions only healing half? I don't know. If memory serves correct, and I'm definitely getting a memory from the last couple of attempts, going on the ship from Port Blacksand involves missing some kind of vital items in the desert that are required later on, and riding on the eagle and fighting the pterodactyl is the way to go. So I'm going to be sticking with that. Now, since this is the third attempt, I am going to do the intro one more time, but I think I might I don't want to bore you guys with repetition, so I might stick a pinned comment with a timestamp for getting out of the intro. Or maybe I'll do that on the 4th attempt. It's something to consider for future attempts. And also, I want to get back to Way of the Tiger. You know, I want to get back to Book 2 of the Way of the Tiger at some point. Do that as well, probably. Right. Perhaps it was because he was born during a full moon, with wolves howling around his mother's forest hut, that Malbordus' nature was evil. Perhaps it was something more sinister than that, but it is certain that after his mother abandoned him, Malbordus grew up in Darkwood Forest in the care of Darkside Elves. He was taught the elves' wicked way and also discovered powers of his own. He could make plants wither and die simply by snapping his fingers. He could make animals obey him with his piercing gaze. The elves urged him on and helped him develop his powers so that they could teach him the arcane and evil magic of the ancient elf lords. Magic so vile and powerful that it kills unworthy users. In pursuit of such evil powers, Malbordus grew into manhood. In order to prove to the elves that he was ready to receive the Elf Lord's knowledge, he first had to pass a test. He was ordered to journey south to the Desert of Skulls to find the lost city of Vartos. In the city were hidden 5 dragon artifacts, which he would have to find and collect. A simple incantation would bring the dragons to life to serve the forces of evil. Malbordus would then instruct them to fly back to Darkwood Forest, where a massive army would be assembling. He would receive the ancient powers and lead the hordes of chaos across Lancia in an unstoppable wave of death and destruction. It was only by a stroke of luck that these terrible plans were discovered. On the edge of Darkwood Forest lived a strange old wizard named Yaztromo. Something of an eccentric, he lived alone in his tower, practicing simple magic and communicating with animals and birds. He was always willing to sell small magic items, so that he could afford to have brought to him delicious cakes from all over Alancia. His sweet tooth was the cause of his only link with the outside world, as he rarely left his tower. It was therefore much to everyone's surprise that he came huffing and puffing into the village of Stonebriegde. What could possibly have forced old Yaztromo to venture through Darkwood Forest to Stonebriegde? All the dwarfs who lived there were eager to find out, and a message was sent to Gillibran, their king. After the rigours of a recent quest, you were resting in Stonebriegde, enjoying the merry company of the dwarfs. That quest was probably Forest of Doom. Your wounds are almost healed, and the local blacksmith has honed the blade of your sword as only dwarfs can. Resting on a porch, with your feet up on the railing, you are intrigued by the commotion in front of you in the village square. Followed by a throng of inquisitive dwarfs, Yaztromo climbs the stone steps of Gillibran's house and is warmly greeted at the top by the king. The crowds fall silent when Gillibran raises his hand and Yaztromo turns to speak. You leave your chair and join the crowd to hear what the wizard has to say. With a glum expression, his face almost as long as his beard, Yaztromo relates the bad news concerning Malbordus. The dwarfs look up apprehensively, as though expecting the 5 dragons to descend upon them at any moment. He calls on them to show courage, saying, "Friends, look on the bright side. At least we are warned of our impending doom, thanks to my pet crow, who overheard the conversation between the Dark Elves and Malbordus. What we must do now is find somebody who can reach the lost city before Malbordus and destroy the dragon artifacts. We need a fearless young warrior who is willing to risk life and limb to save us all. Is there one among you who would volunteer?" Sadly, Big Leg and Stub are not in Stonebriegde anymore. Brock is off on a completely different adventure with his hot air balloon. And the other Stub, the one who comes up back in Legend of Zagor, he's in a completely different world, isn't he? Like on another plane of existence. So no mighty dwarven heroes among the... Oh, what was the name of the pre-gen dwarf from the Dungeoneer series? I can't remember, but he might be around somewhere, right? Having some fun? Each dwarf looks around to see if another has dared to accept the challenge. Standing there, watching the worried dwarfs, you realize that there is only one thing you can do. With a wry smile on your face, you raise your arm in the air and offer your services. Yaztromo sees you and says, "Haven't I seen you somewhere before?" "Never mind. You look like the kind of person we want. Make way for our brave adventurer. We must leave for my tower immediately. Come along, let's be off. You have a lot to learn, but I cannot teach you much until we are safely through Darkwood Forest and inside my laboratory. You could almost call it his workshop." You hardly have time to cram your belongings into your backpack before the impatient wizard leads you out of Stonebriegde towards his tower on the southern edge of Darkwood Forest. For an old man, Yaztromo is surprisingly sprightly. You cross Red River and the ploughed fields beyond, and soon reach the edge of the forest. Yaztromo still doesn't stop. He takes a narrow path leading into the dark wall of trees. The light fades, branches and knotted roots obstructing the twisting path and make everything very tiring. You ask Yaztromo why he seems unconcerned with the possibility of being attacked by forest monsters. He chuckles and tells you that his magic is well known and respected by all the creatures for miles around. None would dare challenge Yaztromo. After spending a peaceful night in the forest, you reach Yaztromo's tower by mid-morning the next day. You follow him up the spiral staircase to a large room at the top of the tower. Shelves, cupboards and cabinets line the walls and are filled with bottles, jars, books, boxes and all manner of strange artifacts. Yaztromo slumps down into his old oak chair, by now looking quite tired from the long journey. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a fragile pair of gold-rimmed spectacles. After placing them on his nose, he peers at you over the top of them, and you feel quite unnerved by his piercing gaze. Finally he says, "Anybody who would hope to defeat Malbordus must certainly know a little magic. You look bright enough to learn some, but I don't think you have time to absorb the 10 spells I would like to teach you. By the way, I would like you to know how privileged you are to be able to learn my magic. But a crisis is a crisis. Now let's get on with it. Which 4 spells shall I teach you?" Now, I know that technically I can skip the Create Water spell and have 4 really good useful spells, but the Create Water spell is still really useful at the moment. I think there's like 3 or 4 places in the desert where the Create Water spell would come in really useful and be a lifesaver. And there's only the one time when you get the cactus, and the other 2 you start suffering penalties, and it might go beyond stamina damage. There might be like a skill penalty or something. That I think is offset when you get out of the desert. So, let's see. I probably want Jump, Detect Magic, Open Door, Read Symbols, and Language. So we'll take Open Door, Read Symbols. I might be able to get away without the language spell. Jump. And then do I want Language, Detect Trap, or Create Water? Is Detect Trap cast preemptively? The Detect Trap spell will forewarn you of any dangerous trap which might be laid before you, although you will still have to overcome the problem using your own initiative. It drains 2 stamina from you when cast. Well, a trap probably isn't going to do more than about 3 or 4 points of damage. And we might be able to avoid many traps anyway without... So the question is, what kind of traps like a deep pit trap we can't climb out of or something like that. What kind of traps can we fall into but we can't get out of with a jump spell that we would absolutely need the detect trap to... If I say... I think I need language or detect trap. The create water spell is really nice, and I think, because I don't remember the desert too clearly from childhood experiences, do I skip it this time? Well, Iresh Zudavi has quite good skill and luck, so if she ends up taking -1 skill due to heat stroke, 11's still pretty good. I do know there's one encounter in the desert where the language spell is an absolute lifesaver. But I think you can also avoid... I don't think you absolutely need the language spell to survive that encounter. Detect trap, I have a feeling will come in useful in quite a lot of ways, but I'm not... I think I should just take create water again and see which of these come up for like a future run. Alright. The old wizard looks at you solemnly and says, "Every minute is vital. You must begin your journey immediately. Without doubt Malbordus has learned of your mission to thwart him and may send an assassin or two after you. My crow will guide you as far as Catfish River. From there, you can either take a river vessel to Port Blacksand and then a sailing ship south, or journey overland to the Desert of Skulls. A grim task is ahead of you, but our thoughts will be with you." Yaztromo leads you back down the spiral staircase and out into the open. Suddenly, he gives a shrill whistle. A large crow immediately swoops down from the top of the tower and settles on his shoulder. "Now, Crow, guide our friend as far as Catfish River and make sure you keep a good lookout. The last thing we want is an ambush on our own doorstep." You shake hands with Yaztromo and reassure him that you will destroy the dragons of Vartos before Malbordus can attain his evil goal. Cocky, aren't we? He smiles and hands you a pouch containing 25 gold pieces. He then commands his crow to fly south. Now at this point, we could presume that in Port Blacksand we could spend money to buy more provisions. As it turns out, we probably don't get to do that. The crow squawks and flies off. You hurry after it, turning just once to wave goodbye to old Yaztromo. Walking through the tall grasses, a shiver runs down your spine at the thought of Malbordus' assassins coming after you. You travel steadily south, only deviating twice to circumvent danger spotted by the crow. 3 hours later, you arrive at the banks of the Catfish River, at a point where it is spanned by a rope bridge. An old barge is moored to a jetty beneath the bridge, and you see several rough-looking characters unloading sacks. We absolutely want to cross the bridge. You watch the crow fly back towards Yaztromo's tower before stepping onto the rope bridge. The crew of the barge are not concerned by your sudden appearance and continue with their various tasks. After crossing the bridge, you continue south across the scrubland. After an hour or so, you see smoke rising to the east, and because we want the bow and 2 arrows, we absolutely want to investigate that. Do we have... No. Do we have a... Okay, pure retro, no colour or anything else funky. You soon discover that the smoke is rising from the burning roof of a wooden hut. 2 dark elves in their familiar black-hooded cloaks are firing flaming arrows at the hut. Suddenly, a man appears at the door, forced out by the choking smoke. Armed with a sword and a shield, you watch him run towards his attackers. Before you can help, he is cut down by 2 arrows. The dark elves step out from behind cover and walk towards their dead victim. Yes, we will attack them. You draw your sword and run towards the murderous dark elves. It's time to fight, and let's hope the battle music isn't too loud this time, but we shall see. Alright, game, give me a moment. At the music volume, I am competing! So be it. Hopefully that'll help. Die, you bugger. Behold our superior combat skill. And we're not even playing Lone Wolf. So, when you have an extreme skill advantage, a 7 skill advantage means I need to roll a 4 for them to be able to beat me on the 12, right? So I do not need to waste luck just to make fights quick. Just go, oh, this is boring, it's a really easy fight. So, pour it out, take them down, blow by blow, and save for luck for big fights where it's going to matter. Second foe, +6. Look, everything over a 4 difference is really good in our favour. Uh-oh. Is that a 1 or a... Draw! Nice! Gotcha! Oh, come on, game! Sometimes it does that weird second click where it rerolls the dice. Or did oh no. There we go, the foes are slain. So, when you have the luxury of playing a high skill character, you can... You then have the luxury of saving luck points for story-based events and luck rolls, rather than using them in fights. If you have lower skill, you might want to occasionally use luck in fights, but even then, you're better off just taking the hits and eating some provisions, even if they're only healing half the regular amount of them. I don't know why. Right. You find 2 gold pieces among the elves' belongings, and you take one of their bows and the 2 remaining arrows. After burying the poor man who was killed by the elves, you set off south again. Although the scrubland is quite barren, you are surprised to see a patch of ground which is totally black. There is a smell of decay in the air which appears to be coming from the black patch. Holding your nose, you walk over to inspect the patch and see that there is a bronze medallion lying in its centre with the letter M etched deeply into it. Could the medallion have been dropped accidentally by a Malbordus? Well, if the medallion has corrupted the ground around it, it's probably not wise to step on that ground to pick it up. And if it was placed in a corrupted patch, it still feels rather evil. I will not pick that up and be carrying on without it. But this is where I probably find out this is the item I don't get if I go on the ship, right? But I seem to remember it like burning an M into the palm of your hand being like a red hot pain and like giving a skill penalty or something like that. So I'm not going to tangle that. I feel this is very much a trap. And maybe if I went to pick it up, it would be like, do you have the finding traps spell? Oh no? Oh dear. Well then, let's walk on southwards. The day wears on and you make good progress over the flat scrubland. When it is finally too dark to walk any further, you find shelter in a cluster of boulders and we try to not roll a 1. Hooray! I mean, rolling a 1 might have been a really special amazing thing, but when it's a 1 in 6 chance, that's so slim, it's probably not something the quest depends upon. The night passes without incident. You wake at dawn feeling refreshed and you gain 2 stamina points. You sling your backpack onto your shoulders and set off again. Up ahead in the sky, you see something flying towards you. As it gets closer, you see that it is a creature with the body of a large bird of prey, but the upper torso of a woman. It begins to emit a piercing shriek which you instantly recognize. You frantically plunk your ears with cloth that you ripped out from your shirt so as not to hear the mesmerizing call of the dreaded harpy. We cannot cast the magic arrow spell, and for some reason we can't use the bow and 2 arrows. So let's fight the harpy with our sword as it comes close. The vicious harpy swoops down to attack you with its razor-sharp talons, and we must fight. 4 diff, but pretty good. Generally, anything over 2 difference is quite significant. Like when you're rolling an opposed 2 to 6 roll with +3, that becomes quite a big advantage. Yes, dispatch this fearsome creature. You set off south again, keeping a watchful eye out for other hostile creatures. Absolutely. As you walk along, a leather pouch suddenly drops out of the sky onto the ground in front of you. You open the pouch and find a note inside written by Yaztromo. It says, "Friend, I have learned of bad news. Malbordus is already ahead of you, but look up, for help is at hand to enable you to catch up." Obeying his instructions, you look up and at first think another harpy is above you, but then you see it is a giant eagle gliding through the air. The eagle circles above you and then lands with effortless ease close by. Pleased that old Yaztromo is concerned for your life, you climb onto the back of the eagle. You are soon riding through the air, travelling quickly towards the Desert of Skulls. However, your good fortune is quickly brought to an end when you hear an ominous screeching above you. Like a giant diving gannet, a hideous pterodactyl swoops down to attack the eagle. We have a bow and 2 arrows. Let's do it. But now, admittedly, the magic arrow spell would have hit automatically, but it would have been one of our 4 precious spells known, and there are other useful spells. The diving pterodactyl is a difficult target to hit, and you aim carefully before releasing the arrow. Okay, if we miss, we miss, you know? Haha! We did not miss. Oh no. Iresh Sodavi is an accomplished archer. The arrow hits its large target, but does not kill the pterodactyl. It squawks and turns away, but then dives down to attack again. I will not attempt to fire another arrow because I don't want to drop the bow and the arrow. If I can stow them safely, I might be able to use them later. Bow and arrow... Okay, so it wasn't bow and arrow times 2 or something before? I should have checked that. Anyway. You draw your sword and try to help the eagle in its desperate battle, but the pterodactyl stays out of reach and you are unable to influence the outcome of a bloody battle of beaks and talons too much. Apart from adjusting your position and your grip on the eagle to minimize the hampering of its combat ability, your giant eagle has 6 skill points and 11 stamina points, and will be reflected in your adventure sheet for this battle. Very well. Ooh, we're rolling at -1, but so 9 still reach 7. Nice. Oh, that's not so good. Okay, take it. We've got a stamina advantage. That's a draw, isn't it? Yep. We're good. Get that hit in. Take that hit. Okay, fine. We might want to use... Yeah, we might want to use luck here. Luck it. To get that point back and last an extra round. No, we need to do it twice. We need to do it all along. Oh, that's bad for us. Okay. Oh, harsh. Luck it. Get that extra round in the fight. Oh my goodness. Are we gonna die early? Man, we had such a good heroine here as well. Man, yeah. No point lacking this. The body of the eagle shudders as it we were doing so well as it receives its death blow. You drop out of the sky like a stone and land fatally on the ground below. Right. Next episode, I'm going to create a new character and I'm going to be picking up at the eagle fight just to save us all a bit of bother. That was really unfortunate. It was all going so well. Oh dear. It's such a good name as well. You know, I think she almost deserves a second try, but no, I'll give it some thought. That was really... Sometimes it just happens, you know? Oh well, I'll pick it up again soon, don't worry. Look, I know I didn't record Fighting Fantasy for a few days, had a bit of a busy week, but I'll definitely try and have the next episode up fairly soon. Alright, well, another one bites the dust, I suppose. That was most unfortunate, but that's the way it goes sometime. Well, I hope those of you who have watched have enjoyed this episode, and I do look forward to seeing you all in the next one, by which point I might have worked out how to fix the missing book covers. But until then, I'm going to have to say bye-bye for now. See you all next time, everybody.